Welcome to Master the Process, where we break down recruiting, NIL, and the road to scholarships so families can build a real plan instead of guessing. Hi, I'm Coach Braxton, author, former Division I athlete, and 11-year recruiting coordinator, and the owner of NIL Sense, a college planning program for athletes and their families. I'm glad you're here, so let's get started. Well, hello, and welcome back to Master the Process. We have a special guest today. Coach Eddie Hamilton is joining us from Louisiana. And just in case you don't know a whole lot about me, that is my home. I'm actually from Louisiana. So this is near and dear to my heart. Coach Hamilton has had over 2 decades on the sideline and is currently at Evangel Christian Academy. He's also the founder of the Coaches C.O.D.E framework and the author of the Interior Project. So he's doing a lot of work beyond X's and O's for coaches. Coach, first of all, thank you so much for being here, just taking time out of your schedule. I know you have some family things going today, but you just pausing your day to come in and talk about this recruiting landscape, and especially in Louisiana. That means a lot to me. I appreciate that.
Hey, look, it's an honor to be here. I've been watching you for a long time and definitely love the work that you're doing. So to have opportunity to be here and chop it up with you a little bit is my pleasure. And super proud of the Louisiana girl taking over there.
Yeah. We trying our best.
Yeah.
So what I want to start with is our audience and who we speak to. We're talking to families that are in the recruiting process. We're talking to coaches that are navigating recruiting with their players. But let's talk about you. Tell us a little bit about your background. You've had over 2 decades of coaching. So when I did research, I saw plain dealing, I saw Evangel, and then I know when we talked before, you told me a little bit about my hometown of Natchitoches. So tell us a little bit about your background and most of all, the work that you're doing to develop athletes.
So I'll go through this timeline and try to do it as quickly as possible and time efficient. Because my career, how it started, was in your hometown of Natchitoches, which is my second home. I lived there for 10 years. I love Natchitoches, Louisiana. But what it is, though, is that when I finished school in 2003, my first experience as a coach was at Lakeview High School, where the legendary coach Mac Braxton, his one state championship that he won in 2003, was a student coach. That was my last semester of school. So my first experience on the sideline as an assistant coach, we won a state championship, 41-0 with that team. I'm still friends with the MVP of that team, Corey Deans, who also coaches here in Louisiana. Then from there, I went on, and I'll make it quick, went to Natchitoches Junior High, coached football and track. I went to Clutcherville and coached basketball there. I assisted at Natchitoches Central for a little while as well. And that was
which is my home, guys. Natchitoches Central, that's my home.
That's your home. A lot of legends come out of Natchitoches Central.
Yes,
and I assisted there
absolutely.
under Coach Michael Coleman. And then I actually went away for a little while. I sold cars. I thought I was done with education. I said, man, forget this. I want to do something else. And when I came back, I got the job at Lakeview as the head coach. Coach Braxton had passed away at that time. God rest his soul. And was there for a couple of years. And then I came home back to Shreveport, Louisiana. And when I came here, I went to Bethune Middle School for a year, had a turnaround of that program. Then I went to Southwood High School as an assistant coach with Coach Norm Pico. And then from that point is where it really got started. I was at Fair Park High School for 6 years. That was the tenure that kind of made me. That's why I went through a lot of test and trial personally and grew just as a man, as a coach, as a husband, and eventually a father. My wife and I had a lot of miscarriages. We had my one and only son. And Fair Park, and Fair Park was the place where, I went from a 10-win team to a 28-win team, top 5 in the state. It's been number 1. From that point, a real good tenure. Had a few guys who went to college and played ball, and I had one pro athlete out of that group as well. One played in the NFL, plays in the NFL now, and the other one plays overseas basketball out of that group of guys. From there, Fair Park closed, and when they closed as a high school, I went to Southwood High School for 3 years. I had a really good tenure there, one of the top 10 programs in the state in 5A classification. And then from that point, my wife and I wanted to move to Bossier City, and the Airline job came open. So I left and went there. And then from Airline, that's where I kind of started moving around a little bit, start kind of, envisioning myself doing something a little different. And I left the Airline and I went to Seminary College as an assistant coach, won a conference championship with Coach Chris Dorsey there. That was a great experience while I was there. During that time frame. And of course, from that point, I came back into the school system, went to Plain Dealing for a year, and then now I'm at Evangel. I'm at Evangel now. So Evangel right now for me is the place that fits me because being in private school, I get to do, basketball and ministry without getting in trouble for saying the name of Jesus.
Yes, yes. Coach, you brought up some memories. I'm telling you, from Fair Park, I remember days playing at Fair Park High School. I remember Airline, Bird, all those schools were in our conference. At that time, Fair Park was a little different. We had to play in the middle of the day. I can tell you some
Okay.
stories. My husband can tell you some stories about
Okay.
playing at Fair Park. But that actually brings up some things and some questions for me when it comes to places like Fair Park and BT Dub. Those were the Booker T. Washington were those. At that time when I was playing, Booker T was like the top school. And I know when my sister, who's older than me, it was Green Oaks.
Mm-hmm.
Those were for women's basketball. And then Bird came in as well. Airline had a lot of talent. But when I think about Fair Park and I think about Green Oaks and I think about Booker T. Washington, those schools is jam packed with talented athletes, right? And but we're in smaller, you're in smaller areas and things have changed now. What are you seeing now in the state of Louisiana when it comes to we could talk about boys basketball, and I don't know if you know anything about the girls basketball side as well. What is the state of that right now in Louisiana, in those small towns, really?
Well, of course, the way that the word exposure is used, I think is used not in the right context with understanding what exposure means. Because we have a lot of
So
people.
how do you see exposure?
Well, one of the biggest things is like there's so many people involved and there's so much money. And I learned this a few years ago. Youth sports in America is a $30 billion industry a year. 30 billion with a B. I got to say that with emphasis. And what's happening is that because of even though there's so much information out there, there's more ignorance than ever. So everybody can say,
I agree.
I have a travel team. I have 7-on-7. We do this, and they're taking all these fees and all this money, and people are giving it to them blindly.
And I don't know about you, but one thing that I hear all the time, as a parent in it, is develop. We develop. Come to me, and we develop. And I'm like, where is the actual development, right? But everybody sells you on they are the key to developing your athlete or your son, your daughter, right? Do you hear that a lot in Louisiana as well?
I hear so much. I'm all about development.
Yes.
And I don't think people know what that is. They don't know what that is. We think playing 7 games in 2 days is development, and it's not. And a lot of the people are spending a lot of money to go play, and they're saying they're getting exposure. And there's not one college coaching site. Most of these leagues really can be put under the category of development, but that won't make them any money. So they're not going to say that. So yeah, for me, I've heard so many different stories.
No, but I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying when it comes to exposure. But tell us, a parent that's watching, what is your definition of exposure, true exposure?
When it comes down to exposure, it's placement. You got to do the research and know, one thing I see now, there are people that actually make posts that let you know that this is what they call a live event or a live period. And that information is accessible to anybody. So with that, if it's not a live period, then it's not exposure to college coaches. The other part is what that is just because you go to the live period doesn't mean the college coach is coming to the court or the field that you're playing on, because you have to win. You got to be on a team that's winning. Now, the other thing you can look at exposure is exposure to other styles of play. When you play against kids from other parts of the country, you can look at exposure as, hey, a part of your development is being exposed to other kids all over the country who are playing the same sport as you, and you get a chance to see that there's a bigger world than the town or the city that you live in. So you can look at exposure two different ways. Is being
Yeah.
exposed or being presented to all other types of styles of play and other kids, and then also exposure where you actually play on a team that is winning at a high level to be seen by college coaches.
No one has ever really brought exposure to explain it in that way, where it's two different ways. And I love that you're saying, because as athletes, you need that development where you're playing, like you said, against in different cities, different styles, different levels, and you're seeing it in different ways than you're just used to. Same team, same coach, same offense, same defense over and over, something different. So that's different. I've never really heard it explained that way. But do you think exposure also comes? I know you're saying playing on a team that wins. What about that player that can play, but their team is not on the circuit, or they're not the top ranked team? How does that athlete get exposure? What are your thoughts about that?
So this is where I start to get into my personal opinion based on experience that can rub people the wrong way. As a coach, if I know that I have a player that's at an elite level and my program isn't, then what I want to do is, if there's an opportunity to play with a team at the level that I'm not on and that kid can play on it, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to help him get to that program if I'm not that program. That doesn't happen often, because on the coach side, and this is where me get on my soapbox a little, I'm trying to build my name up, my program up, so I have this kid who can play and along with his friends. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build up my name and my program to that status. Now, is there something wrong with that? No, there's nothing wrong with it. But there's also reality. If this kid is special and needs to have the opportunity to compete at another level, then what I can do is, and what I have done is I will tell them, hey, look, there's an opportunity here. Let's see if we can get you in contact with that program. Because me, when I was 15 years old, and I was not a big time prospect, but I played well back when AAU was really AAU, the Amateur Athletic Union, that we had the national tournament
Yes,
in Kingsport, Tennessee.
yes.
So at 15 years old, I wound up, my team, we lost in tournament play to a team out of Baton Rouge. That team picked up 2 players. I was one of them. I had a great weekend. They picked me up, and I got a chance to go and travel with them to the national tournament. So with that, I don't see that exchange happening as much. Now, it does happen because 2 of our top players here in the 318 are playing in Houston right now. They are top prospects, and they do play with a team in Houston right now in AL3. But there are a lot of guys that could be happening for them, but they're not connected to the coaches or the ones who can pick up a phone or give a inbox or is willing to do that, to say, hey, I got this kid you need to check out. We need to check this guy out and see him and see if he can at least come to a tryout or come play and perform for y'all and see if he can have an opportunity to compete on that stage.
AAU and summer teams. We're not talking about the actual high school teams, because everybody doesn't have the opportunity. You can just switch schools based on, because normally you're zoned to a particular school. We're talking about what they're invested in, these programs. What role do you feel the high school coach plays in helping their athletes and the families navigate the recruiting process?
So for me, what I try to do is first off, when I have our parent meet at the beginning of the year, I try to have somebody like a school counselor, or some schools have an athletic like secretary or clerk or somebody that works along with the coaches, where they can come in and talk to them about first academically what it takes to be eligible starting in coming as a 9th grade, letting them know that your clock starts now, from a standpoint of also try to expose them to registration with the NCAA clearinghouse. And doing that, having that process taken care of. That's something I took on years ago, saying this is what I'll do to at least start exposing their mindset. If they have not, letting y'all know there's another side to this that you got to be on. There are websites that are available that you can go, and I think I'm registered with Field Level, and I put in my rosters in Field Level. Of course, Max Preps is always big, just from a standpoint of availability. So trying to expose them to that and letting them know that there are things that you can do to go ahead and put your athlete's name in systems and things where you can start getting emails and understanding processes. And some people do it and a lot of people don't, even though you try to walk them through, because of course I can't do everything. And then when you have,
Right.
and sometimes, you have those kids that, let's be straight up, they're the most talented kid and you know their potential and what they realistically have. And then there might be some extra conversations on the side with that parent
Yes.
about, hey, I
Yes.
know this person, know that person. We need to get you connected. Of course, what I do is I'm still old school. I don't do random videos or highlights on social media. I still use my cell phone because I have about 200 coaches' numbers in there that I can pick up the phone and call
That's
and say,
good.
hey, I have, these kids coming up. What are you looking for? I do that. Hey, what are you looking
Yes.
for 27, 28, 29? Okay. And then guess what? I don't just do it for my kids. People in this city don't even know, I'm saying it now, but I've done it for other kids around the town. Well, I pick up the phone and say,
That's
look,
good.
man, there's a kid over here. There's a kid over here. You might want to call their coach. You might want to check them out and see, how they're looking academically. You can get your eyes on them. And that's just something I've done on my own. And I don't get on social media and say, hey, I helped that kid get in
I
school. No, because I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to build up the brand of me as a coach. Bring all your kids over here because I'm going to help your kid get in school. No, I don't make that promise. My promise when you come to me is you're going to be a better man. You're going to be a better player. That's it. That's it.
There you
And
go. There you
and
go.
we skip over that process because we just want the glitz and the glamour and what looks cute. But for me, I think I got a pretty good, background with helping kids get in college.
That's awesome because again, it goes back to you just said you have those coaches' phone numbers in your phone. It goes back to building relationships, which I talk about that all the time. Relationships matter. On the last podcast, I talked about relationships from the college coach down to the high school coaches and the AAU coaches, and the same thing from the high school coaches and the AAU coaches up to the college coaches, and just the blessing that you're giving families because you're making phone calls even if you're not benefiting from that. The benefit is that you're giving kids an opportunity to play on the next level.
Mm-hmm.
That's so important. That's
Mm-hmm.
awesome.
Appreciate it.
I love that. I love that. Well, I was reading a little bit about some of the work that you do, and I wanted to talk to you about your program, the HHA development.
Mm-hmm.
And you teach what we call the EDGE system. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that goes back to when you said one of the things that you're doing is building our men.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us a little bit about your program.
So HHAD is something that I recently put it into, systematically. It's like I've always done it, but, breaking it down into a framework and now being able to share it. I just recently started, sharing the information online on TikTok. That is the place where, I've really just honed in on just getting the
Mm-hmm.
information out. And what it is just that it's focused on the traits that coaches are looking for and I'm focused on the middle school athlete right now because what I learned from my personal experience, I'm able to catch a middle school kid before they get this ego that I'm so great. And I'm
Yeah.
laughing
Yeah.
because the truth is the most fun I had coaching was middle school. That was the most fun because I
Really?
could,
Okay.
because at that level, the kids are they're more grateful. They appreciate the teacher. They respond. They really want the information because they're trying to get somewhere and they don't know how to get there. By the time they get to
Mm-hmm.
high school, they've already been exposed to this mentality and kind of contaminated, to be honest with you. And sometimes if you don't catch them by the time they're in ninth grade, it's crazy. It's crazy what I've seen. So my target is middle school athletes right now and just really trying to hone in on the traits that coaches are looking for that'll separate you. So even if this kid is more talented, these character traits can take you past talent. And I know that personally because as a kid, I was a late bloomer. That's why I coached the way I
Mm-hmm.
coached because I worked hard and did those things, but the guys that were better than me in eighth grade weren't better than me by the time we were in 11th grade. You see what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but it was because of the things that my dad taught me. My dad taught me things about just working hard and just really separating yourself, even though I was ignorant and didn't know what I was doing. So
Yes.
HHAD, that is the focus, Hamilton's Holistic Athletic Development. And what I'm doing is just getting information out now. You'll see on TikTok, um, and the handle is Eddie J. Hamilton. You'll start to see that I'm putting out information on what kids and parents can start focusing on with the development of their child so they can give themselves an edge. That's the framework, EDGE, on
Yeah.
having coaches
Yeah.
see them differently. That kid is talented, but I'm reliable. I'm dependable. I work hard every day. I'm on time. You could depend on me. All those different things, because I think we look past that and we see kids, ninth, 10th grade, got these attitudes as if, I'm, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, or I'm Antonio Brown, Tom Brady, I'm Patrick Mahomes, but then your character doesn't line up with that and they wind up getting lost. So that's what HHAD is all about. It's about focusing on the development of the character.
Yes. So I'm a college coach and I'm coming in and I'm in your gym or I'm in a gym, I'm watching athletes. What character, what do you think I'm looking for? What do you teach your athletes?
Well, one of the things that we don't look at as a skill is just a high motor. High motor. Everything that you do from drill to drill, a high motor. And mind you, I was at Senior for 1 year, so I had a year of recruiting, and the things that that I was taught, that was a part of me, but the coach that I worked for, he really solidified and let me know I wasn't crazy. But the number one thing is, I'm talking about a high motor. That's number one. And then after that, of course, is coachability. When coach is talking,
Yes.
are you looking, you're giving him your undivided attention. And what I call it is listening with your eyes.
Yes.
Listening with your eyes.
Yes.
Your eyes say a whole lot about you. I don't care what character trait you think you are. You can be you could be looking me in my eyes, right in my face, and saying, "F you, coach, I don't like you, I can't stand you." But if your eyes looking at me, you make me think you're listening.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Just lie to me with your eyes. Okay.
Lie to me with your eyes. And then and the other thing is the ability to gather information quickly, and then take that, whatever it is that I'm trying to teach in that moment, your ability to take that and put it into action quickly. So those are three things that looking at that. And so notice I didn't say talent. I didn't say make shots. I didn't say those things. It's those traits that are looked at. And of course, I'm coming because you can shoot. I'm coming because you can dribble. I'm coming because you can throw a ball. I'm coming for those reasons, but then now I'm looking at these things to say, okay, I'm willing now to potentially offer you an opportunity to come play for us.
Yeah. And parents don't realize that when you come sit in a gym, you're looking at everything. You're looking at how they handle when they're not in the game. You're looking at, like you said, their coachability, but you're also looking at their leadership. How do they lead? How do they warm up? How are they in the stands before the game? What's their demeanor? As you said, their work ethic, how hard they work when they don't have when they don't have the ball. How do they handle adversity? How do you handle things when you're not winning, or when someone's not passing you the ball, someone's talking noise to you on the other team? How do you handle adverse situations? It's more to the recruiting process, like you said, than just how fast are you, how many points you can score, how high you can jump, how many touchdowns you can throw. It's a full evaluation of who you are as a person, because coaches want someone that can come in and represent their program well. For families, Louisiana, that are in the recruiting process and want to go to the next level, we've already talked about their exposures. There are schools in Louisiana for sure that you're going to come to. A coach is going to be in that gym because they have a reputation of having athletes. I know when I was coaching, you always were going in Southwood. If you didn't go sit in Southwood, something was wrong with you.
Yeah.
Places, Negative Central is always another place. I'm just talking about North. I'm just talking about some places right now. I don't want to leave schools out because there are a lot of schools in Louisiana that's known for their talent. But for those schools that are not there, how do you think those students, or how those athletes, outside of, we already know they got to play on competitive teams. We already know that they have to play, the families have to invest in them playing summer ball. What are some other ways that you feel to help our athletes get their names on these recruiting boards?
For me, I try to build relationships. I pick up the phone. What I did was, when I started coaching, I went to clinics a lot early on. That's a lot of handshaking, and just exchanging phone numbers. The other thing that I did was, when I got my first job, I went online, sat down, found every college program in the state, found the head coach's number, the graduate assistant's email address, all those things. And what I did was, I picked up the phone, I called them, every last one of them. That's what I did as a coach. Which that's not because like I said,
That's
social
rare.
media and stuff. But that's what I did. I picked up, I want to know who all the coaches are. And what I did was still send emails out, introducing myself as a coach, letting them know where I was. I wanted to make connection with them. And then, of course, being in
Mm-hmm.
Louisiana specific, it was easier for me to do that. Try to help kids in Louisiana get opportunity. I would love for the guys to have in-state opportunities because there's a lot more money staying in your home
Mm-hmm.
state because of financial aid and TOPS and those different things along with athletic scholarships. So that's what I've done. And it has worked. Those relationships, even when some of those coaches have left the state and went to different places, we have kept relationships. And every now and again, like I said, we'll text each other, keep in contact. And when I have, like, even where I'm at right now, I got my 2 senior guards who have already made contacts. Hey, look, this is who I got. This is what they did this year. And let me tell you what else I've done. I told them, these are the weaknesses. These are the strengths. These are the things that we're working on. So when I send you film, I want you to, recognize you see these things. And that's personal conversation. So like I said, for me, I can put my phone. And then I have relationships also with coaches who, if it doesn't fit them, they'll say, hey, I got a couple of junior colleges that I can call for you and get you in contact.
Absolutely.
And so that's how it's worked for me in my time frame. And that was, like I said, I'm sure there are other ways to streamline it and blast emails. But for me, I still believe in relationships. And I always tell parents and guys, you don't need 30 offers. You just need one.
You just need the right fit.
You need one. And
One that fits you.
America, you were
Yes.
so greedy and we just want everything. I'm like, look, if I find one school that says we want to give you money to come here, go. Because now you take advantage of the landscape. If you go there and you perform and put up numbers, what you can do now? Jump in the portal and you can go now. And coaches have accepted that. My 1 year sitting there said, look, man, if I get a kid 1 year that's going to come in here, put up numbers and perform and we can win and they leave, I'm okay with that. And that's the way it is now. So that's what I do. I'm still old school with it. I'm gonna use this network in my phone, my emails, things like that. That's what I do.
Quick pause. If you're a parent trying to navigate recruiting and college funding, I wrote this just for you. Future Finance Focus, the book, the theory behind my entire recruiting system. The companion workbook is where you execute it. Grade by grade checklist starting from the 9th grade, plus a bonus section on post-grad year and prep academics, both available on Amazon. Now, back to our show. We're going to transition a little bit from, I want to ask you one question outside of the recruiting process, because I know that you're the author of a book, and I want to talk about the Coaches C.O.D.E framework, because I know you really talk about coaches being stronger and healthier as parents, as coaches. And let's talk about what your Coaches C.O.D.E a little bit.
So the Coaches C.O.D.E, the framework is C-O-D-E, and C stands for Coach with Purpose. O is for Optimize Team Dynamics. D is for Drive Success through well-being, not in spite of. And E is Empower through modeling. And so that framework came about basically through my own personal experience. I can be a little transparent here. Years ago, I had some struggles personally, just as a man, as a husband, as a father. As a matter of fact, about to be a new father at that time. And I was struggling really bad. I didn't realize that I dealt with low self-esteem, low self-worth, insecurity. I didn't know I dealt with those things, but it was brought to my attention just because as a coach, I was so busy trying to prove who I was as a coach that I was just didn't know who I was as a person. And so I found myself compromising a lot of things that I believed in because just my heart wasn't right. It just wasn't. Even though I loved the kids and I was saying the right things to them, well, my personal life didn't line up with those values. And so with that, I wound up having a time where I had struggles and strain in my marriage, and I went through therapy, went through counseling willingly, got a chance to answer a lot of hard questions. And then what happened is that after I went through that process, that's where I believe the Lord put in my heart the Interior Project. And I started hashtagging all of my stuff, and not really knowing what I was doing. But here it is now, 13 years later, I've written a book called The Interior Project, which features the Coaches C.O.D.E. So the Coaches C.O.D.E is something I lived out for years before it actually came out into a framework about 3 years ago. And so the focus is coach being. It's coaching from who you are, not from performance. Not just I'm saying and doing these things just to get you to perform for me. But for me, what I noticed is that when I changed as a person and as a man, my words had more value. And I saw my program go from 10 wins to 12 wins to 19 to 22 to 28. Like I saw a change. And watch this. We did not have the most talent. We did not have the most talent. And that's what caught everybody's attention is I was able to get my team ranked at the top 5 as high as number 1 in the state. And I didn't have any prospects on my team. We were just a bunch of hard working, gritty, get after you. But people will ask the question, how do you get them to play so hard? It was because of the inside work that I had done. I was able to help them. My conversations with them changed. We didn't talk basketball every day. I was able to talk to them about one of the biggest things that I talk about every single day is being a committed husband and father. And now I have young men who came from non-traditional homes who are now husbands and fathers. And that's what you're going to be for the rest. That's what you're going to be for the rest of your life. So the Coaches C.O.D.E helps to do the inside work, to focus on. I had one of the books is a strategy and action workbook where you get a chance to sit down as a coach and map out your philosophy as a person. And it helps you to set it, to give you a playbook personally on how you deal with yourself and then how to get that message out to your team. I'm telling you, this is for the coaches. I'm telling you. But in turn,
yes,
it is.
But it impacts both.
It impacts both.
Yeah.
Because as a coach, you've had the coach while you were broken. You had the coach while you were hurt.
Absolutely.
You had the coach while you were mad at your husband and mad at your kid, and you still had to coach.
Yes.
And you had to find, and
you still have to show up.
Still got to show up. And so that's what the Coaches C.O.D.E. It helps with helping you streamline and putting those things in place to keep you accountable, so that you can make sure that you are coaching, from a healthy place and not from pain.
That's awesome, Coach. And that benefits so many. We go through so much as coaches. We deal with so much as coaches. And like I said, we still have to come to work. We have to show up. We have to coach through so many trials and tribulations that we're dealing with. And I always say, if we're not healthy as coaches, we're not able to be 100% and as strong as we need to be for our athletes, right? And so that's really good. That's really good that we're focusing on us first. And even as parents, I would say as parents, we have to be healthy and whole ourselves so we can pour into our own children. So Coach, you've had a chance to walk through our NIL system. We did gave you a walkthrough. What stood out to you and what problem do you think it solves for families today?
Well, I think it brings into just the reality of recruiting, of what it actually takes. And then it lets them see the side to it that they don't understand. I'm telling you, it takes time. It takes some time. It's more homework to it than what we actually realize. And I think the NIL stands, from what I see, it helps give a parent, I won't even talk about the kid. I think it helps give a parent some power to know, it helps them know what they need to be looking for out of the program that they choose their child to play in high school. Is this going to be the best place that's going to put them in position to reach these milestones, to have their child opportunity, to be seen. I love it.
Yes.
What you're doing is amazing. And to me, I feel like it's more personal as well with the approach, having somebody like yourself or somebody that works with you that can walk with somebody and give them confidence in the process. So I love it. I do. You got my vote.
I appreciate that. So we ask every single guest, we have a signature question that we ask. And so we're now down to that question. So for families that want to master college recruiting and the recruiting process in this new landscape, I heard you talk about how things have changed, but I also heard you talk about relationships are still important. They still matter. But right now we're dealing with NIL. We're dealing with the transfer portal. We're dealing with just a lot of different changes. What is one thing you'll tell them to focus on first?
I think we're in the 90th percentile of kids who don't even love these sports that they play. Love the sport that you're playing. Let's go right there. I'll keep it that simple. Love the sport that you're playing, because when you do, you're going to do all the other things you need to get the result that you want. And right now, I think most kids don't love it. I think most kids are forced in because their parents are thinking you're going to be the next big athlete. You're going to be the next, LeBron. You'll be the next Patrick Mahomes, and not even loving the game that you play. And that comes from just getting out, and it's a game. It's a game that's meant to be fun. So before I go to anything else, I go back. Love the game that you're playing, which means you're going to love the work that it goes to get better. I lived in the house with a pro athlete. He was outside every day, all day. And he made it pro.
All right, guys. So this week, we always end with an execution moment, something for you to execute with your athlete. This week is going to be something different. We talked about just getting back to having fun and enjoying your sport. So this is what I want you guys to do this week. I want you guys to take your son, take your daughters, take your athletes somewhere for this to go and just have fun doing what they do, whether it's going to play pickup games or go and play where it's not where they are in a organized setting with a coach. Just let them go and enjoy playing like in the good of and just let them bring back the joy of doing what they love. Spend some time with family and just go have some fun doing something in the sport that you guys love.
I love this.
So thank you so much, Coach. I know we talked about a lot of different things from your book, from how you bless coaches to the things that you do to help your athletes, to relationships, to bring back the fun in the game. We talked about a whole lot today, and I know we could talk for another hour because you have so many nuggets that you're blessing us with. But I appreciate you once again, and the impact that you're making on the state of Louisiana. Keep it up. Know that Louisiana loves what you are doing and you are seen. So I wanted you to know that. So I appreciate you.
I'm glad to be here, and I appreciate you.
That's it for today's episode of Master the Process. If today helped you see recruiting differently, do me a favor. Follow the show. Share it with a parent who needs to hear this. Remember, master the process and you maximize your opportunity. I'm Coach Braxton, and I'll see you next time.